And now, please welcome to the bridge our next mission specialist, Global Head of Cyber Observability, BlackRock, Matthew Yokum.
Hello, everybody. That's me. All right, so for our agenda today, we're going to talk about threat intelligence. So just recently, over the last year, we've migrated from a legacy threat intelligence match platform and using Cribl and our SIEM platform. So we're going to go over a little bit about what we did, what we learned, things we did well, things we learned along the way, to give you guys a little bit of a jump start as you think about, as you go through this endeavor that we went through, some of the stuff that you can learn from some of our mistakes that we made along the way. Before we get started, let's talk a little bit about what threat intelligence is. Let's just take a second to level set the definition. So threat intelligence is the work of collecting, processing, analyzing information about potential and current threats to the organization. Those threats could be anything. I know in this room, in this conference, we have a lot of people across many different industries. We all have threats, and it all completely varies based on who you are. But we all have threat intel, whether you like it or not. So let's actually use it. All right, sweet. So step one, this is a lot like painting a house. Painting a room. We're going to spend a lot of time prepping the data, getting it ready. As you guys know, as you guys paint a room, you spend probably 80% of your time masking the light switches, the trim, getting the paint ready. Same concept. All right, so first thing you got to think as you're going through this is doing this work can cause some pain and suffering on your SIEM environment. Everything from ingestion to searching to performance to a cost. So there's some stuff that you're going to have to keep in mind as you're going through this. One is using modern search techniques. I'm not sure who was in the session here at 11. Scott DeMoss or Moody's went over metrics. That is one of those things that you can use there. Also using things like index fields, T-stats, that kind of stuff. We'll cover a bit as well, doing a lot of the work before ingestion. Obviously, we're going to do this for more of a threat intel mindset. But the work that you guys can do here is not just for threat intel. A lot of the work that you do here can also be used for your SOC analysts and other things. Lastly, not all data formats are created equal. So as you're thinking about this kind of work, thinking about what format your data in is also going to help you a lot, from storage costs to compute costs and other various stuff. All right, so first thing you got to think about is making the data efficient and optimized. So using modern search techniques. Again, you can use raw data. You can do your traditional raw searching. It works. It's great. We've used it for the last 20 years. It's not the quickest thing in the world. Lately, at least at where I work, we've done a lot more on index data. We've seen a lot of speed improvements. We've taken searches used to take 90 minutes down to sub minute. And lastly, again, metrics. If you guys were in the morning session with Scott, he gave a fantastic talk about how to use metrics. Index data and metrics are awesome. They're quick. They're nice. But again, it's going to require some prep work. You're going to have to know what fields that you actually need and what fields that you actually care about. There's really no backfilling. It kind of is what it is. Whereas raw data, you do get some of the capabilities to correct your mistakes later. So as you think about as you're bringing these data in, there's some stuff that you can do as you're ingesting it to get the data ready. One, instead of doing that stuff in your SIEM, whether it's the evals, the lookups, the normalization, all that kind of fun stuff, let's do this inside Stream. It's going to save you compute resources on your SIEM environment. It's also going to make your analysts better. And instead of them working through a long, complex Splunk query or whatever, let's do that within Cribl. You can also normalize it, whether you're in OCSF, ECS, SIEM, UDM, whatever. You can do that there. We'll talk a little bit more about transformation here in a little bit. And then lastly, field enrichment. All right, talking about not all data formats are created equal. So my favorite slides that I wrote. Data formats can either be. Data formats is a great way to, as you think about data, some of it is fantastic and some is a little bit painful. KV pairs are nice, but it gets a little hard the more fields that you get. CSV is fantastic because it's so small. But if you're trying to just read the log as it is, it makes it quite difficult. JSON's my personal favorite. Most platforms read it natively. They can parse it out, make it look good. Now, it is a little bit bigger. It's 61 characters versus the 26 and 47. And then lastly, XML. I question its purpose in life. 149 characters to tell you the same exact thing that 61 does. And that's great, though. I mean, you see, OK, it's again, these are in bytes, it's characters, whatever. It's cute for 1 or 2 logs, but if you scale that out to 28 million events per day, this is where where you actually begin to see the value. So you see here, CSV for 1 year for that sample log, 250 gigs, give or take. Same exact log, same exact everything. 1 year in XML, you're 1.5 terabytes. That is an extra additional terabyte worth of data that your SIEM needs to churn through. That's additional compute resources. The other nice thing too is between like CSV and XML, you lose if you go one versus the other. There's no difference in visibility. You still have the same exact data. You know the field name, so it's going to be comma. So picking the format that works best for you, trying to balance that size, and then also too just readability. Some people like JSON more than they like CSV, more than they like KV. It varies. XML, I still question the need for that. All right. Data is prepared. We did it. We got the data ready. We got it in the format that we want. That's actually now begin to do the threat intelligence work. So for us, there were 2 different types of threat intelligence that we did. We did active matching and we did retroactive matching. Active matching, as data is coming through the pipeline, we're going to tag it. So you have a whole bunch of IOCs. They're in a lookup file somewhere. It's just a lookup function. So if you're a proxy feed, we're going to match on domain and IP. If you're something else, and so on and so forth. Retroactive matching is we're going to look back in time. So for us, we're going to say, hey, any new IOCs in the last 24 hours that we've seen from our tip, which, by the way, this whole effort was not to replace the tip portion. This whole effort was to replace the matching portion. So in retroactive, we're taking, hey, give us all the new IOCs for the last 24 hours. And then from there, we're going to look back the last 6 months. Have we ever seen those IOCs previously? On the active matching workflow, again, this is where you can use the lookup function. Once you actually match those hits, don't put those hits in the actual same index as your proxy, your EDR, your WAF, whatever. Put that someplace else. Create a separate index, a separate data set that you can just put those matches in there. Because again, if you're trying to search, if you have a hit from, I don't know, 5 months ago, whatever, and you want to pull all the hits you've had, you're churning through the raw data set for the last 5, 6 months. It's going to take a lot of time. Rather than having those hits in its own index, that search is going to be a lot more performant, a lot more quicker. Still have the raw event still go to the actual raw index, but duplicate that one log message to a different index. Lastly, use your SIEM to do the alerting, whether that's Cribl search, whether that's whoever that it is. So this was pretty clutch. This was pretty amazing and pretty awesome. Cribl, in I think sometime over the summer, released disk-back lookups. Huge win for us. Just because of the size of some of the lookups that we have, and how do we get those lookups into Cribl? Doing memory-backed lookups for a lookup file that has 5, 10 million rows worth of data adds up. If you think about it, each worker process within the worker needs to store that lookup file in memory, and that just it just adds up. Whereas memory is nice because it's pretty damn quick and pretty awesome, it doesn't really scale out for the much larger ones. Whereas disk-backed might be a little slower, but for us, it was a trade-off that we very happily made because it allowed us to update these lookup files dynamically. So we worked with our partners at a consulting firm that wrote a process for us that would take data from our SIEM, our IOCs, in our SIEM and put it into that lookup file. Worked fantastic, worked awesome. All right, so thinking about retroactive, again, this could do some damage, but we've been able to work around most of that damage by getting smart about it. So how do we fix it? Again, you use summarization. So in this very simple use case here, we did proxy. If your IOCs are just domains, do you really need the entire proxy log message in your log? Do you really care about if it's which user it was, which category, so on and so forth? We're only going to include the things that we actually care about, and then we're going to summarize it on a daily basis. We're going to put those events then into our SIEM. So then, as these retroactive queries happen, instead of you searching multi-terabytes of data per day times 6 months, adds up, you're only doing megabytes rather than gigabytes. Now, obviously, again, if you find a hit, you still have the raw data. You still have the raw data out there to help drive that investigation, but this will help at least tell you, hey, it happened on June 4th, 2 o'clock, and then you can go into the raw data and then finally drill down. Oh, it was so-and-so, yep, it was blocked, cool, moving on. All right, let's future-proof this. Let's use, we're gonna use the Cribl APIs to keep our stuff up to date. There's a patch process, I believe it is. It could be a little cloudy on the actual process, but we were able to use the Cribl APIs to grab those files, upload those lookup files. It was awesome. Also, monitor the health of your entire process. So if you think about the entire process that we have now, we grab the IOCs from the tip, put them into our SIEM. The SIEM does some additional work, pushes them into Stream. Stream then does the lookups, and finally that data gets pushed into Splunk. There's a lot of weird things that can happen possibly during that. So again, are you monitoring the health of the entire process? Did your IOC file get updated in the last 24 hours? Did your lookup file get updated in the last 24 hours? Is the source data that you're looking for even flowing through Stream? Sounds like a pretty silly question to ask, but there's some times where things happen and data sources fall off the grid. The last one with the data source falling off, there's Cribl notifications that you can use. Lastly, the most important thing there is working with your threat intelligence team. They obviously know the data the best more than anybody else. It's their IOCs, it's their data. And working with them on, hey, how do you guys recommend us that we pull this data through? What fields do you guys recommend that we IOC up against is key. You don't want to go through this by yourself. You make sure you have partners within the threat intelligence team, and then also whoever is actually even looking at this data afterwards. So if you're working with your monitoring team, your SOC, making sure that these alerts that you're making actually make sense. All right, sweet. So we did it. Let's actually show what it looks like. So here's a sample firewall event. It's in Stream. We know it. We love it. Again, pretty basic stuff. Pipe delimited. Nothing too incredibly fancy. There we go. So here we did a very basic pipeline function for a parser. Since it was pipe delimited, we were able to just basically delimit it based off the pipe. From there, we quickly reserialized it into JSON. Again, I think that's a little easier to read than the prior one. Your eyes can get a little lost and a little bit confused. From there, let's start adding some stuff here that the analyst could use. Again, this sure beats an analyst trying to write a pipeline, writing a query that includes some lookup functions with some maximize data, some other fun stuff. We're gonna do all that for you. It's also nice too when you put it into the log. It also gets written in history. So this IP for which one 2.2.2 today, it's a part of the EU, but tomorrow it could be a part of, I don't know, the US. It's good because you track this data at this point in time. So if anything changes, you kind of know what happened. So this is the event that we would have sent into our SIEM. So it would include this stuff here. So it makes it much easier for the alert. There we go. And then for the IOCs itself, we actually inject it right into the message. So again, it makes it super easy. You can put it in the message under raw. You can also put it under the metadata. So you kind of have your question whether you want it visible or not, actually in the raw message. But again, it makes it quite simple. You can track how that IP or that domain or whatever you're IOCing up against. You can see how that has evolved over time. Maybe that IOC confidence has changed over time, and now you can start to track that stuff. All right, we did it. The room is painted. We got the data. We went from our tip. We got the data. We got the IOCs into our SIEM. Did some cleanup work. We got that data from our SIEM into Stream. Stream is doing that pipeline work, that active matching. Concurrently, at the same time, we have the retroactive matching happening, where again, we're going every day, we're grabbing the brand new IOCs, going the last 6 months, and look, hey, have we seen this new IOC ever for the last 6 months? We did it. It was cool. It was awesome. So by preparing the data properly, you can really simplify a lot of your queries. It just kind of helps the analysts get a quicker answer instead of them trying to work through a complex query with lookup files and other various stuff. You have the data right there for you. You also can empower. By having more context within your log message, you can reduce your investigation time. It also helps you because, I don't know about you guys, but for me, a lot of my stuff happens Friday at 5 o'clock, where our global head of IR calls me and asks, hey, can you help me with something? If you can put a lot of that stuff in there, he may not call you at Friday at 5 o'clock. And then also on that same context, you also can improve your alert accuracy. Going back to that example for a second, where the IOC confidence was -99, I just made that number up. You may not want to alert on that, but where the confidence was above 80, hey, that's what I care about. But you still may want to have those IOCs in your message. Most importantly, on an efficient SIEM, optimizing what you do to get the data ready is going to help optimize your costs. We've taken searches that used to take 80 to 100 of compute units down to 1 or 2. We've been able to take other searches used to take 90 minutes down to sub 1 or 2 minutes, just by using some of those search techniques I was referencing earlier. Lastly, by doing that, you get faster queries, faster dashboards. People are happier, and they're not constantly talking smack about your SIEM environment. All right. The big thing here that we want to make sure we go through, that I leave you guys with today is, you don't need to go spend money to do this. This is something that everyone can do today, either at your place of at where you work, or if you're a home lab person, you can do this off your home lab data. So obviously everybody knows Cribl is free. You get a 1 terabyte cloud or on-prem license. Here's a few free threat intelligence files that my CTI team told me about. Threat Fox, Abuse CH, and then the Alien Vault stuff. If any of you guys are not involved with the Cribl community on Slack, Cribl Curious, you are missing out. Both of them are heavily monitored, assisting, watched, helped out by the Cribl employees. They're always happy to help. And then lastly, Cribl University, it's free. You got levels 1, 2, and 3. You can go and get it done. Lastly, and then you can use a SIEM of your choice to do alerting. Cribl Search is an option, or there's a bunch of other ones out there in the industry too. My company made me put this up, so that's that. And then lastly, thank you guys. I'll be hanging around today and tomorrow. Feel free to stop me. I'll hang out over here for a few minutes if anyone has any questions. Other than that, thank you guys for your time.